Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Well, the dominoes are starting to fall for the fight costs and broadcast arrangements for the Joseph Parker Hughie Fury WBO title fight in Manchester, England later this month. So we are 3 weeks out from that. So Peter Fury, he had actually put out a tweet. So this was about a day ago saying, well, tomorrow we're going to get an announcement on the arrangements. So as a result of that, I thought, well, I'll email Joseph Parker's promoters, try to seek some confirmation, when are these details coming out. So I sent that off before I went to work, and pretty lickety split, I got a response saying the cost for the New Zealand-based pay-per-view, which is going to be on Sky Arena, that's on Sky Television New Zealand. We always knew it was going to be on that platform, but the cost was unknown. So the cost, $39.95. You can see the response that I got back from Duco up on screen here. So $39.95. And that cost is $10 lower than what we could have well expected, because Sky Television, in its monthly magazine Skywatch, which is for its subscribers, its TV listings with some articles wrapped around it and so forth. So for the month of September, they obviously had to have something in there. And they must have been given a provisional price. Well, they were, because it was printed as $49.95. So the cost, which Duco has confirmed today, is on screen, $39.95. So I actually think, so some thoughts on this. This is a win for fans, because Duco have often been criticised quite heavily for the cost of Joseph Parker pay-per-views in New Zealand. Say, for example, the title fight, that was $59.95, the Parker-Ruiz one. We've had other cards up at $49.95, and then we've had some pretty pedestrian fights, because remember, Joseph Parker has been on pay-per-view in New Zealand for quite some time. For people outside of New Zealand who may have seen fights on other platforms, terrestrial TV or Showtime, you may have seen them delayed or whatever. But in New Zealand, if you want to watch it, it's on pay-per-view. And that's been for, what are we talking, like a dozen fights? Something like that. It was basically Franz Botha, I think. He might have been the first one. So it's been for quite some time. And there has been a lot of criticism that the costs have maybe been a lot higher than we should, as fans, naturally expect. So I was pleasantly surprised. $39.95. I think it is a win for fans. I think that is in line with other fight costs that fans have been paying in New Zealand. Say, for example, the Mayweather card, $39.95. You've got Joshua cards, which in the UK are about £20. That is the equivalent of 36 New Zealand dollars, and the costs have been $34.95 New Zealand dollars. So in that range, I mean, I would have paid $49.95, but I wouldn't have been extremely happy about it, especially when you consider the point in KiwiBox. Shout out to KiwiBox on his channel. He mentioned this in the video. The overheads for Parker's promoters Duco events, they'll have the broadcast rights, New Zealand and Australia. The overheads that they'll have are significantly lower because they're not running the event. Hennessy Sports is running the event. And as we know, I certainly have been trying to get some details around broadcast arrangements from them for the past, couple of weeks now. And it has really been like pulling a Band-Aid off. It's just been painful from Hennessy Sports. I'm empty chairing them at every opportunity because I was in touch with them multiple times. Not even a response email to say we're not going to comment. Whereas Duco Events, that's Parker's promoters, have shown some professionalism every single time and responded. I mean, sometimes they haven't been huge statements, but they've got back to me. And that's what an organisation that's dealing with, because let's face it, people who broadcast on YouTube, effectively you're journalists by default. And I was trying to get some information and report it to you because I know that is information that you as the fan, you want. We're 3 weeks out. We want to know what the costs are. So this is why I really feel for you UK fans at the moment, because your details are not known. So while Peter Fury had sent out his tweet saying the arrangements are going to be announced by Hennessy. Well, he ended up following up with another one saying, well, actually, I'm mistaken. So what are the exact words? So I've put it up here on screen, but effectively, actually now it's going to be Monday. So that's Monday in the UK. So what are we, 3 days or so away from that? So when you start clipping that down in days out from the fight, that's just over 2.5 weeks out from the fight. I mean, that strikes me as extremely odd. Extremely odd. Why is it being left this late? It's almost like this event in the UK, which we've heard a lot of rumours, there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of talk about the promotion hasn't been doing that well. These rumours are persistent and won't go away. Ticket sales are apparently not doing so hot. You can go to the ticket website and see large blocks of tickets unsold. But when we've tried to question Hennessy Sports about this, no response. It's just nothing. So, I mean, I'm not sure what the strategy is here. I mean, are we leaving the broadcast arrangements this late because we don't want the event to do well? I mean, it's just craziness. Because clearly, the more time whoever your broadcast partner has, then they can advertise the fight because it's in their interest to do so. I mean, the fact that Sky Television New Zealand had in its printed Skywatch magazine, it had the details for the fight, even if it was only provisional. I mean, clearly that was obviously the indicative price they were looking at originally, but they had it in there because they wanted their customers to know this event was going to be on in September, and clearly they want them to buy it because Sky Television New Zealand will be clipping the ticket probably on each pay-per-view. I don't know what the cut is, but it's probably okay for them. It's in their interest to do so. So this is why I'm wondering, well, what's happening with the UK side of the things that we don't know about? And clearly it's a lot because this has been left so late. If it was a lock to be on Box Nation, for example, we would have known about that ages ago. And in terms of ITV box office, that has been mooted by a number of channels and boxing websites, and people have been referencing it in stories, but there's been no official announcement. You go to their website, and I'll put that page back up here. There's no details. It's just, they're coming soon, and that's on a couple of their different platforms that relate to their ITV box office service. So, I mean, there's a lot of people in the UK who are interested for this fight, but I would probably contend that they're the ones that were going to watch it anyway. That they'll find, you know who you are. You're probably going to find out whatever way you could about how to watch it, and you'd pay your tenner or 20 or whatever, or if it's on terrestrial TV, for example, you'd make sure that you put the time aside to watch it and enjoy it. The undercard may not be the greatest, but it's the main fight that the core of us actually want to see. So in terms of this, I mean, you really have to ask yourself, what has been going on behind closed doors? What is going on? So the broadcaster is going to have a couple of weeks. I mean, well, I hope there really is a broadcaster going to be announced next week. Clearly there's some arrangement being announced. If it was announced as that they're going to stream it over the internet, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me at this point. But clearly there's been some problems. But I guess the thing to put in context here as well, the $39.95 price, which, I heard that and I was pretty happy about that. The fact that it had a 3 in front of it instead of a 4 at the start, that just made me think, well, actually, that's more reasonable. It's in line with other fights, and I'm prepared to pay that. I would have been prepared to pay the higher cost. I would have just been grumbling about the cost and not really have liked it, but I would have done it. But then again, we know Duco events would have copped a lot of criticism if it had been nigh on $50. So I think $39.95 is pretty reasonable. But then if I hear that the cost, and I know that there's some people who probably know where I'm going with this, if it ends up, say, going on a pay-per-view platform in the UK, whatever it is, we don't know any of the details, but say if it was 10, 12, 15 pounds, well, the equivalent dollars in New Zealand dollars is obviously, if it's 10, it's, just about 20 New Zealand dollars or so, or slightly under. And if 15, it's just under 30. So then you go, well, is there a premium on top? But I'm not going to sort of argue the toss on this one. I'm pretty happy to pay $39.95. I think a lot of people, just that it's under $40, are going to be pretty pleased with this one. But I do wonder what's happening with Australia. It'd be good to... So, I mean, I did pose that to Duco Events, asking them, well, what of the Australian broadcast rights? What's happening with them? So I haven't got an answer to that one yet, because, you know, Australian fans, they want to know, is this something that they're paying for on pay-per-view, or are they going to be able to watch it on Foxtel? Obviously, with Foxtel, you know, being a sort of, like Sky Television New Zealand, you pay your monthly subscription for the privilege. So there's still a cost involved there anyway, but getting it on Foxtel, you're going to be pretty happy with that because you're saving yourself a few bucks. But I really do wonder what's going on in the UK, and, you know, where is this promotion actually at in terms of a number of things that, because if the tickets were going great guns, we'd know about it because they'd tell us. So really, there's a number of open questions here. Clearly, a couple of them are going to be answered in the next couple of days in terms of the broadcast details, you know, whoever the carrier is, and the potential cost, or if in fact there is a cost. So obviously more to come. But the fact that there's been this vacuum of just no information, and we're just having to speculate on some of these things, and some of it's not even speculation. I mean, do you think that this close to the fight, and by the time it gets announced next week, whatever the other broadcast arrangements is, and we've got to factor in what's happening with the US, doesn't that just feel untidy to you, being that close to the fight? I know if I was the broadcaster, I would want as much time as possible, because you want to advertise it, make money. It just makes sense like that. The more you advertise it, the more likely it's going to do well. Another question I've been quite interested in, say in the Southern Hemisphere, what does the time difference do? Because obviously, and what I mean is to the pay-per-view numbers and the general viewing numbers, is that going to have some sort of influence? So there's all these things rumbling around that, and certainly I've been putting questions up. I haven't always got all the answers back from, or I've got none back from Hennessy. Duco's been pretty good. And someone else asked me about the drug testing. So they have come back and confirmed, well, Joseph Parker, VADA-tested athlete, and there is drug testing in place for this fight. So to the couple of people who have been asking me about those details, well, there they are. I'll try to find them in the comments from one of the recent videos. But what do you make about the $39.95 cost? Are you pretty happy with that if you are a New Zealand-based subscriber to Sky Television? Well, actually, you don't even have to be a subscriber. You can get it on Fan Pass too. I was pretty happy with it. But are you? Are you going to be more inclined to be a little bit peeved if you find off it's significantly cheaper in the UK when you do the conversion? For me, I'm not going to quibble it. I'm going to pay it, going to watch it, hopefully enjoy it, and hopefully see a good performance put on by both men. Really interested, if you're in the UK and you've been looking forward to this fight, interested for your few more thoughts about, you know, what you make of this whole build-up. Because clearly there's been something unusual happening here. I certainly haven't sort of, from the outside looking in, or I guess it's the outside looking on the outside, haven't sort of seen this level or degree of untidiness. I mean, people can say what they will about Duco events, but they run good events. They're well-run events. They might be pricey, but they're well-run events. So this build-up has sort of, you know, caught me off guard a little bit. Is this par for the course in the UK? Would Eddie Hearn do this? A couple of good questions. I'd like you to fill me in. Okay, that's it from me. Hit like and subscribe. Drop a comment, multiple comments. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.